Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Sixers Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan off Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to be joined by my crew, Jordan Long. Welcome back, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
You're very welcome. And Rick Curdy, Mr. Opinion. Welcome back, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, well, I have a few topics tonight, so we're going to go ahead and get right to them. I found a very interesting stat, and I have to tell you, and I'll go ahead and divulge a couple of my secrets. Sometimes I get topics from Instagram because I've actually figured out how to go out there and do the screenshots, stick them in, boom, insert them in the program. But it's pretty interesting. But here's one interesting World Series notes out there. Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Colorado rooted for the Houston Astros, while the rest of the country rooted for the Philadelphia Phillies. Unbelievable. So Houston got love down there, but when we talk about 44 states, 43, whatever, who cares what the number is? We had 6 states. Let me count them. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 states out, including Texas. Rudum, what are your thoughts about the popularity or lack thereof, Jordan, of the Houston Astros nationally?
That actually surprised me that Colorado was included going for Houston, but I kind of see why Colorado would be going for Houston because, we're Colorado Rockies are a National League team. So why not go for the American League? But to see that Houston is that popular, I know they cheated and all that, but that's beside the point. But I also think that they were probably rooting for the Houston Astros manager because he hadn't won one, and I mean Baker definitely deserves it, and that's probably the reason they wanted to see him win it rather than Philadelphia. Then if you look at Philadelphia, Bryce Harper isn't the most liked guy in baseball, so he's kind of almost like the villain. So I can see why a lot of people were going for Houston. They're the better team. They don't have as many villains, even though they have the cheating scandal, but they have a lot of guys to root for. And plus, everybody wanted to see Dusty Baker,
Right.
win a championship. So I was really surprised that Colorado was included in that. But it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people were going for Philadelphia rather than Houston.
Yeah, good point too. You're talking about 6 states rooting for the Astros and another 44 rooting for the Phillies. But I think the major reason you nailed it there, Jordan. You really, really did. Who in their right mind would not root for Bryce Harper? This guy could play in any era. I mean, they had obviously an interim manager at the time, moved on there to get them there. But to me, I just think Philadelphia to get. I think I was a little bit surprised at the lopsided nature at the popularity that the Phillies ended up getting. So, all right, Rick, what are your thoughts about the fact that the Astros only had 6 states, including their own?
Not surprised at all. Colorado, Texas, they're all over there in the Houston area. I have family in New Mexico, and a lot of them are like Bronco fans or Astros fans because they don't have a pro team. So not surprised by that. Not surprised because people hate the Astros still. They cheated. They should have gotten the World Series taken away. I call them the Houston Trastros. That's what they are. And people are mad at Manfred because they got no punishment. I mean, my goodness, no suspensions, nothing happened to him. He said shame and embarrassment is their punishment, and so we're like whatever. But not surprised, and I think the Phillies just came out of nowhere. People like these underdog stories. That's why we like the Rocky movies. I do because he's the underdog. They're nobodies. Everyone counted them out. They fired their manager. They're a mess right now. Oh my goodness. And Dombrowski's gone. They're going to clean house. They bring in some manager who was pretty much unknown. And look at him. He took them all the way to the World Series. So it's kind of like a Rocky, movie, against the mighty Astros who had over 100 wins, everything. So not surprised by that. And like I said, the places that rooted for them, it's all close to Texas or Colorado, New Mexico. So, like I said, my mom's got family in New Mexico. They're Bronco and Astro fans over there. So, not a big surprise at all.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. All right, so let's stay on the Phillies thing. By the way, Will Vogel, thanks for joining us. He's in the chat room. He certainly complimentary of both you and Rick in the chat room. Will, thank you very much for being back again. We appreciate it. He's one of our most loyal followers out there. We appreciate your participation. All right, speaking of the Philadelphia Phillies, though, Rob Thompson is the first Canadian manager to ever lead a team to the World Series. Now, he's from Sarnia, Ontario, which is on I-94 East, about an hour and a half outside of Detroit. And I actually used to go there on drives when I wanted to meditate there. And I once contemplated moving over to Harrison Township, which is right off the lake. But I know about Sarnia a little bit. So let's give Canada a little bit of love here. Our team north of the border, Rob Thompson, getting to the World Series. Sarnia, Ontario. What are your thoughts about a Canadian making it to the World Series?
The thing is it's pretty amazing just because, we don't think of Canada as like a great baseball town. I know Larry Walker was from there, played for the Rockies, but we think of more like, USA, the Dominican Republic. We don't think about Canada. And it's pretty amazing to hear that he's from Canada and got the team to the World Series, almost won it. I mean, I know they got beaten in 6 games, but still pretty amazing to see a Canadian doing all that, and good for him.
Yeah, I love the fact that you brought Larry Walker in there. Yeah, I guess Will Vogel's already saying, you know what? I'm going to put this one's worth posting. Okay, that's very cool. I never knew that. Love facts like that. Well, here's the deal, my friend. Okay, if there's an unusual fact, my policy is to educate and inform and provide opinions. And when I can find little nuggets like that out of nowhere, then I feel I've accomplished my objective here with our viewers. And by the way, before we go any further, just so you know, folks, the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you're watching live, this is the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. And if you want to subscribe, no big deal. Go to youtube.com, look for South Florida Tribune, hit the subscribe button. You'll be able to get all of our streams as well as a lot of our remote broadcasts as well. And anything that we have that has a picture in front of it and audio, you'll find it on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So with that said, again, I like coming up with little nuggets like this. Again, as a journalist, I don't know how you guys feel. I know Rick has been brought on this platform because we rely on his opinions, and he's pretty knowledgeable. But Jordan, you write a lot anyways. You and I are journalists, right? So
yeah, we are.
Anytime you have a journalistic mentality, okay, to me, this is really what our industry is all about, isn't it, Jordan?
It is. I mean, in researching, finding, different. Well, you brought different facts that I've never thought about. I'm always trying to find a different angle to write about. So it's always cool to learn something new.
Well, I really don't like Instagram, but I probably don't like a lot of social media. But it's what we have to depend on to exist in the business, what we call new media. And if I can find something here and there, I'm going to incorporate it in here. And, to me, when I bring on talent, I'm not worried about giving topics ahead of time, because not only am I looking for journalists, I'm looking for broadcasters that can think on the fly. So, and I'll tell you what, let me put this out there. I've never done this before. If any of you folks that are watching this show think that you could want to come on one of these shows, feel free to give us a shout. And you know what? Contact us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And, give us a reason why you should be on. I'll be more than happy to put you on with our crew. So there you go. Hey, we'd love to have you. We're always looking for new people out there. So, Rick, okay, this isn't Bobby Thompson shot heard around the world, which baseball fans know. This is Rob Thompson, the first Canadian manager. Some thoughts about that?
I think it's amazing. I just found this out like not too long ago on Facebook. I follow like Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. They were talking about him. So I found that out maybe a couple of days ago. But I think that's great. What's all that about? I think it's oot. I love Canada. I think Canada is a great baseball town. A lot of people don't know that. They have one of the oldest stadiums in London, Ontario, in Labatt Field. It's like 100 years old. Great history of Canadian sports. We talked about Larry Walker. So many great Canadians that I had no idea were in baseball. I love the Blue Jays. I remember the Sky Dome was one of the first state-of-the-art stadiums, and I used to love watching baseball in Toronto. I just thought it was so unique and different and special. Having the first ever real World Series between them and the Braves. So Canada is a great baseball town. It's very underrated. You don't hear much about it. And to hear that they had a Canadian in the World Series, and he did. He did great. My goodness, he just came out of nowhere. Congrats to him and congrats to Canada. Even though the Phillies fell short, they were not supposed to get that far at
Well,
all.
I'll tell you what, being from Metro Detroit, Windsor's right across the border, so I used to go there a lot, you know. And I love Toronto. Saw a game over at Exhibition Stadium is what I did.
Yeah.
Also had a chance to at the Sky Dome, and I've even seen the Toronto Maple Leafs play the Montreal Canadiens at old Maple Leaf Gardens. And for that matter, I went to Vancouver, British Columbia to see a couple of Canucks hockey games. So, you know what? I'm proud that we have Canada, which is north of the border. And according to Will Vogel, I think he says Joey Votto is Canadian too.
Yeah, he's Canadian as well.
Good point, Will. Again, one thing I've learned about Will in the time I've been dealing with this guy, he certainly loves to research. So, you know, Will, keep the research going. I'll make sure that you get the proper credit for every fact that you put out there. But I love Canada. I really, really do. Again, you know, being from the Metro Detroit area, I used to watch Hockey Night in Canada with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. So, you know, we used to have a station out there called Channel 9 out in Windsor, and it was just unreal. Long before cable went in, oh my goodness, if you lived in a neighboring area like maybe a Buffalo had access to Canadian stations, you got lucky. You got one or two more channels outside of your independent thing. Now, of course, Will's talking about bringing back the Expos. Well, the only thing I'll say, Will, there is get a stadium and then they'll talk, but I won't go any deeper into that conversation because we all know, according to Eric Katz, he's always viewed Olympic Stadium as a concrete dump, not going any further. We're not going to mess around with our friends in Montreal. They do need a new stadium in order for the Expos to get back there. But yeah, when I saw the Rob Thompson thing, there was no doubt I wanted to bring it up. And let's face it, there's more to it than meets the eye with Canada in baseball and Rob Thompson, and I'm sure the list goes on and on. So, all right, so you ready to have another fun with another topic before we go to parting shots? Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. More research. Thank you, Instagram. Again, might actually have to use a hashtag on Instagram one of these days because at least I'm giving them credit for some of the stuff we're putting out there. Most season with 200 plus base hits. Going to go through all these top 10 players, and then you guys can give an opinion on every one of them. Ichiro Suzuki, 10, Seattle. I'm going to list them first, okay? Pete Rose, 10, Cincinnati. Ty Cobb, 9, Detroit. Derek Jeter, 8 with the Yankees. Lou Gehrig, 8 with the Yanks. Paul Wainer, 8 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Of course, Mark Mancini would love that one because he's from Pittsburgh anyways. Wade Boggs, 7 with Boston. Charlie Gehringer, 7 from Detroit. Rogers Hornsby, 7 with St. Louis. And Michael Young, 6 with Texas. So I'll tell you what, we're going to go. There's only a couple of us here. Jordan, I'll let you comment on each player. Ichiro Suzuki.
One of the best hitters I've seen. Honestly, I think had he been to the majors before he, transferred to Japan, he would be the number one hitter. I mean, he was always a great, fun guy to watch. I was lucky enough to watch him in spring training, and he was just fun to watch.
Yeah, Pete Rose.
Should be in the Hall of Fame. I understand the whole controversy, but he really should be in the Hall of Fame.
Ty Cobb.
One of the best players that have ever played.
Yeah, I mean, all I could tell you from all the stories I've read about Ty Cobb, he didn't mind spiking you and he didn't mind making you bleed. So
Nope.
What can I say? So now we have another great comment in here. I love this one here. All right, Sal, thank you very much for joining us, Sal Tartaglia. He had more hits than Rose if you count Japan. So thank you very much, Sal, for chiming in. Okay, Rick, Ty Cobb.
Greatest baseball player that ever lived, greatest hitter that ever lived, 367 lifetime batting average, 12 batting titles, 9 in a row. Man's a legend.
We know where you're going, Sal. Yeah, we know it's Japan, so I'm glad that you talked about that. So very good stuff. So, okay, we're going to go to Derek Jeter. All right.
One of the greatest players I've ever seen. I mean, the guy covered the infield so well. Of course, he played for the Yankees, had the power, and I mean, he was really part of that Yankees core. And it was a joy to watch him play. I mean, I never really liked the Yankees, but I always liked watching Derek Jeter play just because of what he brought to that position.
Rick?
Jeter's great. I'm kind of a little surprised that he had those so many 200 hit seasons. That kind of was like, wow, he's up there with Cobb and Pete Rose and Ichiro. I think a lot of people would be surprised by that. That caught me a little off guard, but not surprised on the list. He's a legend.
We're on a roll with facts, so I'm going to let them speak for itself. Sal's back in it. Ruth was right-handed behind Cobb with a 353 average and all those homers. If there's ever a guy that knows about baseball, and Sal, if you're watching this, I want you to go ahead and put your book information. We're going to allow you to promote your book here as well. So get your book information and what you have, and we're going to put it in there so our viewers can go out there and watch it. So, okay, we'll go on to Lou Gehrig.
Career cut short, unfortunately, because of the disease he had. But again, a great Yankee that played, I want to say in the 30s and the 40s, but still one of the best Yankees to ever play. Unfortunately, his numbers could have been a lot better had the disease not taken over.
Yeah, ALS we're talking about. And recently we talked about Canada. Rest in peace, Börje Salming. Here's a guy here that was a pioneer for Swedish players out there. So Börje Salming went out there and change the game of hockey. I know we've talked a little bit about Canada. What would a show be without what mentioning Börje Salming? So all right, go ahead, Rick.
Lou Gehrig, one of my favorite baseball players. 39 years old when he died. Career cut short from Lou Gehrig's disease or ALS. Who knows? I mean, he probably played sick for a couple of years. You know, we don't know. He was an amazing baseball player. Heard he was a great guy. And my dad always told me that Lou Gehrig was better than Babe Ruth. You know, it's so cool. I mean, imagine all. I mean, he was just short of 500 home runs, won the Triple Crown, a legend, and he was actually the first only baseball player to get inducted to the Hall of Fame. Right away. Everyone had to wait. He got in right away.
Little nugget from Sal. He said Lou would have had 800 home runs. Pretty hard to doubt that. The one thing, at least the one thing that did stand out, I'm going to give my opinions afterwards, but his consecutive game streak was one that nobody thought could be broken until a guy by the name of Cal Ripken Jr. had something to say about it. So, all right, I don't know about Paul Wainer, but he's on there. Do you guys know anything about this guy?
Not really. Before my time.
Yeah. He played for the Pirates. He had a brother, and they were called Big Poison and Little Poison. Paul Wainer, one of the best hitters of ever. Him and his brother were like probably the best baseball brother duo in history. You know, Paul and Lloyd Wainer, and one was called Big Poison, one was Little Poison. Both great hitters, both in the Hall of Fame. So another legend.
Jordan, Rick's got us beat on that. I didn't know about Paul Wainer until I realized that he played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, if there's a Ralph Williams sighting or Mark Mancini, they may know about him, but I don't know much about this guy. So, all right, well, I know one guy a lot of us do know about is Wade Boggs. All right, Jordan.
Again, another Yankee, another guy that played pretty well his position.
Yeah,
I mean, and
Red Sox too, so both.
Yeah. But again, another great hitter. I mean, you couldn't really pitch this guy because, again, he'd smack the base for base hits and score RBIs. Again, part of that 90s Yankees teams.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So, Rick, some thoughts about Wade Boggs, and I'm going to go out there and let Sal promote his book. If there's a baseball writer through and through between, I'm going to do it, but go ahead and talk about Wade. And then I'm going to put Sal's book information in there in a moment.
Wade Boggs, one of the best hitters I've ever saw. Him and Tony Gwynn, too, arguably the best hitters. You know, won batting titles. I think at one point he was third in all-time batting average at like 353. He was behind Cobb and Hornsby. Just a great player. Yeah, very superstitious guy. He eat chicken every day, apparently, because he said that's what would help him. I'm happy he won the World Series. I remember I was crushed when he was crying in that 86 World Series. You see him just bawling his eyes out. So I was happy he won a World Series. Product of Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay's got great players coming out of there. But one of the greatest hitters of all time is Wade Boggs.
All right, well, Sal throws another nugget. We'll put that. Then I'm going to put his book information. Boggs also hit a homer for hit number 3,000 and kissed the plate. So, all right, but this is one thing I want to put out there that I think is important, just to show you the magnitude of Sal Tartaglia. I appeared on a Philadelphia show early in the year with Mark Mancini, Marianne Costello, and it was great work with him. I'm sure we'll bring Sal on at some point, but he says his book is called World Series Chronology: Comparison, Contrast, and Coordinate the Champions. It's available on Amazon, a nice gift for the slugger in your family. So go out there and give Sal a shot there. If he's a dynamite baseball writer, and of course, when you're talking about the World Series, it's definitely a good read. So thanks for putting that out there, Sal, and I'm sure it'll be on our YouTube channel, and we'll make sure it's out there permanently now that you're able to put it on there. All right. With that said, I'll leave that on. And of course, Rick, you were also on Liberty Bell Smack at one point too, weren't you? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good people over there. I enjoyed being on there. Look forward to eventually coming up there. We do a lot with the Mancini Sports Media, and Mark was actually on here before we went on air tonight. All right, we'll go to Charlie Geringer. All right, Jordan, you always lead up, buddy. Pun intended.
I don't know much about his career.
That's okay. Like, he's a legendary Detroit Tiger. That's all you need to know. All right, what about
Great
you?
hitter.
Yeah, okay.
Another legend.
Rogers Hornsby, St. Louis.
Pretty good hitter. I mean, that's all I know about him.
That's okay. Well, a lot of these were before your time, and these guys and Boggs, Geringer, and Hornsby both had 200 plus base hits as well. Michael Young, Texas Rangers.
Again, another power hitter. The guy could smack base hits, score runs. I mean, he was a fun guy to watch, really.
Okay. All right, let me give you my perspective on all of them. Ichiro Suzuki only makes you wonder what would have happened if he played the United States his entire time. So, and now, of course, Sal chiming in on Hornsby. Hornsby averaged over 400 for 5 straight years. Wow, that tells you a lot.
He won 2 Triple Crowns. Second all-time lifetime batting average at 356. 1 year he had an off year. He only hit 370. He had 403 times. So amazing hitter.
Keep up the research, Sal. You're on a roll, buddy. So there you go. He averaged over 400 5 straight years. All right, I'll go back over mine. You guys had your turn. I told you Ichiro Suzuki to me, if he had played in the United States, probably would have over 4,000 hits. But it's amazing that he was able to still amass over 3,000 hits in the United States and had a lot of them in Japan. So you want to talk about world-class player, and he did it 10 times. More power to him. Pete Rose, unfortunately, gambling kept him out of the Hall of Fame. And the reality is it's not uncommon for the Baseball Hall of Fame to leave great players out if you go against what you're supposed to do, whether it's steroids, whether it's gambling and whatnot. But Pete had 10 straight. Ty Cobb, what can I tell you? He is iconic in Detroit, better known to me as a Georgia Peach, but he was anything but that on the base pass. And he was actually one of the in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He was actually inducted in the first class ever. And a lot of you, Ty Cobb is the greatest player of all time. Derek Jeter, the only thing I'll say about him, why he didn't get 100% of the vote in the Hall of Fame is beyond my wildest of imagination. He should have gotten 100% unless there was a writer that had an issue or maybe something personal. But that was absolutely outright stupid. Lou Gehrig, well, again, I alluded to the consecutive game streak. I actually have a little thing on my wall here at home about Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth. And yeah, it's too bad ALS went out there and got the best of them. But he certainly had one of the best speeches ever over at Yankee Stadium, which a lot of people can be thankful for, about him being lucky and not complaining about what subsequently happened to him. Paul Wainer, Rick gave you the summary. Again, Pittsburgh fans know him a whole lot better than the regular. Wade Boggs, you know what? Glad he finished his career in Tampa. Glad he won a World Series, and he didn't care if he was with the Yankees or the Red Sox. He wanted to win, and he was awfully good at it. Charlie Geringer, I know, arguably one of the greatest Detroit Tigers of all time. Rogers Hornsby, well, Sal laid it out there very nicely for you. And Michael Young, you did a good job, Jordan, so we'll leave it at that. And Sal also mentioned, you know what, I'm going to also, this is so dynamite, that Ruth should have gotten 100% as well as Cy Young and others. So thank you very much, Sal, for putting that out there. So.
What about Hank Aaron? I mean, my goodness, what writer left him off the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Sal, if the rate Sal's going, he might answer for that. So Ruth should have gotten 100% as well as Cy Young. One of these days, I'm going to go over some incredible complete game stuff, but the things I came up with today were just pretty interesting tidbits, and that's what'll make this thing there. So with that said, okay, I'm going to let you guys have some parting shots here. I don't care what you talk about. And this is, once again, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, around the Motor City Madmouth. Please be joined by Jordan Long, Rick Curdy, and for that matter, I might as well just if you will Vogel as a unofficial guest, and we're gonna have Salvatore Tartaglia as an unofficial guest. These guys are on an absolute roll for all the right reasons. So, all right, you know what, Jordan, lead off.
So I look at I'm going into college football with the hiring of Matt Rule. I mean, I get that he failed with the Carolina Panthers. He wasn't a great, football coach in his own right in the NCAA level from 2013 to 2019, 47 and 43. I think Nebraska is going back into their roots, trying to get a big hire because they got Scott Frost. He went 16 and 31. I just don't see this is going to work. I mean, I kind of, as a CU guy, I want to see Nebraska back to, where they were, in the early 90s and 2000s, but this is not the way to do it. Should have hired another guy that actually knows college football and not Matt Rule. So I think it's going to end up failing in the end.
Now they're paying him $9.25 million. It better work out. Yeah, you know what though? Since we're going to put Sal out there again. The writers also did honor Williams with an MVP when he won the Triple Crown. You keep pushing these stats out there, Sal, and I'll put them up there until this broadcast ends. And boy, you're definitely showing why your book, World Series Chronology, is a great read, because we know the man behind the research who's actually feeding us tonight. So with that said, Rick, what's your parting shot?
Well, we're talking about college hires. I'm going to go the other route, talk about Wisconsin. And I was really surprised that Jim Leonard didn't become the head coach. That guy is from there. He's one of the greatest defensive minds in all of college. He's only 40 years old. I mean, you hear him talk, and he's so wise beyond his years. And I was really surprised with Lou Fickell, because he signed a contract extension with Cincinnati. And all I gotta say to Wisconsin is, man, you better keep Jim Leonard, man, because if you lose him, you're gonna lose one of the greatest defensive minds. Lou Fickell, better sit down with him, talk with him. I thought he should have gotten the head coaching job. I feel bad for him. And Wisconsin, don't get too comfortable with Lou Fickell being there. I see him 4 years, because guess where he wants to go? Ohio State, his alma mater. That's where he wants to go. You're just a stepping stone. You should have gone Jim Leonard.
Okay, well, you know what? Sal has another comment, but this time he's talking about Matt Rule. He transferred from Temple and Baylor. So that's why Nebraska felt strong enough about it. My parting shot's a little different. I'm wearing a USA hat today. I wonder why I'm wearing a USA hat today, even though I've talked a lot more Canada Wells. I'll tell you why. The United States defeats Iran 1-0 in the World Cup. Glad to see. I was glad to see it, but I have to admit that soccer, this sport, I struggle to keep my attention, and I doze at times. I really do. When the United States battled England to a 0-0 draw, my goodness, bring back the indoor soccer league when I was growing up. That was when we had scoring. Hey, I understand it's a popular sport worldwide. I also understand the United States has never won a World Cup. So if they end up getting to the knockout stage, that's a good accomplishment. And now they have Major League Soccer helping them as a feeder system. But come on, seriously, a sport that ends 0-0, who in their right mind could be able to keep attention? Now, I got to tell you a funny story. When I had back surgery at Holy Cross, I believe it was like 20 years ago or 10, 15, 20. It doesn't really matter when I did it. It was recent enough to know. I was at Holy Cross, and outside of the morphine and the pain medication I had, because I was going through a really painful operation, what sport did they have on in my bedroom? They had soccer. Don't remember the teams, but I want to think that Spain was one of them and another one. So I got to tell you, soccer fans, I appreciate the athleticism that goes behind that sport. I could certainly appreciate the fact you have to train hard. I covered Inter Miami this summer and certainly have an appreciation of what you guys go through. But you know what soccer has in common with me? Ambien, Trazodone, and Tizanidine. It helps put me to sleep, folks. And, if I ever want to coin the phrase by Aaron Rodgers and say, relax, soccer does it, Aaron. If you want me to relax, just turn on that ball that they call football around the country. Their version is FUTBOL versus ours is FOOTBALL. Because I'll tell you what, Aaron, if you want to relax, turn on the sport. And you know what? You can also record one or two of them in case you want to watch it and forget about what you're doing, regardless of who you're dating in your personal life. And I don't get into personal life stuff, but so the next time somebody tells me to relax, I'm going to have my wife go ahead and record one or two soccer games. I'm going to watch it, okay, and then I'll say I'll do that. So, all right, Sal, he's given us his input, so we need to go out there and let him chime in. How about politics surrounding the USA standing up for a woman's rights? Iran fans wanted them disqualified. No. Okay, then again, that's where I'll leave it. We'll continue the narrative with Sal here. That said, nothing compares to American team sports. Cheers, Sal. I totally agree. So, I don't know how many soccer fans I have anyways as followers, and I'm not here to alienate you, but a 0-0 score does not cut it. Even though I can tell you right now that the United States and England probably drew one heck of a crowd anyway. So, I wish you guys well in the World Cup, U.S., but you need to kind of like score more than 3 goals in 2 games. I think they scored 2 against Wales and 1 today against Iran. And we know about the 2 donuts that took place there as well out in against England, 0-0. So, hey, you know what? We try to keep it real here on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. We talk about a lot of our main topics, but I like to give my guys the freedom to go out there and talk about other things, which is why the parting shots has become one of our most popular segments across the board. So with that said, we appreciate everybody joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Rick Curdy's going to join us tomorrow on the Sports Exchange. Jordan Long, one of the best pickups I've had all year long, and I'm glad he participates whenever he gets a chance. But with that said, Jordan, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
So you can find me on Twitter at SportsScoop1 on the Sideline Sports Network. Mondays during the NBA season, I'm on the NBA Carousel, hosted by Megan Price, obviously here on 108 Stitches on Tuesday nights. On Thursdays in the NFL season, I'm on Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel. Otherwise, I'm just in whatever sideline sports show that they need me in. I've been on Basket Bros. I've been on the Pundits Pundit. Also, I have a blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. And I also have my own show on the Sideline Sports Network called Under Review, which is my take on Colorado sports with a sprinkling of national sports stories as well.
Well, Sal Partigliasa said we had a great show. Well, Sal, my only words to you, with everything you threw our way, you made it even greater than it was. So thanks for all the information you provide. All right, Rick. And I can tell you, Jordan will probably appear on lots of different shows, especially after 2023. It's just a matter of trying to work out the schedule because he's not a one-trick pony. He's able to talk about lots of topics intelligently. All right, go ahead, Rick.
You can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. We have a petition on there. Please sign it. Trying to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. And you can find me on the Tuesdays and Wednesdays with Scott. Doing our podcast and just hearing what I have to say because I'm Mr. Opinion.
Yeah, you are. And well, you're Mr. Opinion, but you come up with more facts than you lead on because I know you're very knowledgeable a lot of sports. The growth and development, Rick, that you had since I've been with you has been nothing short of outstanding. Plus, you move around the dial, and you're also a huge asset with us when it comes to promoting our social media. So, all I can say, Rick, you've come a long way, but you haven't even reached your potential yet, pal. So, I look forward to seeing you grow even more than you already are. With that said,
thank you.
I encourage everybody once again, if you're watching this show on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, great. And again, I'll say it again, the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. Or we also have a Michigan version as well, the Motor City Tribune at Tribune City as well. Now, I want to leave you everybody on this last note. If you feel you want to be on one of these shows, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com and tell us you would like to be involved. leave us some good contact information, and I would be more than happy to call you, contact you, whatever the easiest form of communication. I don't see why anybody else should be able to join us on this platform. I believe it's an open platform where everybody should have the opportunity to go ahead and speak. And to me, the best talent out there is what it is. And this is really what makes this a fun show and platform to be able to work. I mean, let's face it, kudos to Candy Ebling. She does an outstanding job putting the written content up there. The broadcast does an outstanding job with photography work for us. And she appears on Sideline Sports with her girls, Megan Price, Carrie Johnson, Jennifer Matthews Lewis, and of course Candy. JBL, a special shout out to JB and the rest of that group, because if it weren't for JB and Sideline Sports, I wouldn't have Jordan Long in front of me right now. So, and there's a lot of great talent. I'm just mentioning some of the ones that currently stand out as well. So the partnership with Sideline Sports is outstanding, and it only continues to get better. And our goals in 2023 to make it a little bit bigger. One last note I want to leave everybody on, so you constantly think about it, that in 2023, the South Florida Tribune will be going to a much bigger plan on StreamYard. So we'll probably have as many as 6 platforms at least. So these shows will be seen other places in addition to the numerous places that we have it on now and the audio ones that I've already produced. So meanwhile, Jordan, any closing thoughts real quick? I know you'll be off for the month of December because I know you have other stuff. So we're glad you're able to make it tonight. And just make sure you get charged your battery, because I want to bring you on quite a bit in January. Any closing thoughts, Jordan?
No, it's just been, I've enjoyed my time here on 108 Stitches. Of course, the off season is going to be very interesting.
Good. Well, like I said, 108 stitches, whatever, inside the pigskin. I know the one thing about you, you're a chameleon. You'll be able to adjust anywhere. And talented broadcasters and writers, to me, always do. And you're definitely following along those lines. Rick, some closing thoughts.
No, I just enjoy my time here. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Jordan. Love talking sports. Love talking to you guys. I think we had a great show tonight. And Jordan, it'll be interesting what happens with both our teams, with the Broncos and Panthers. It's going to be interesting. I think we might have some new coaches coming. Who knows?
All right. Well, you know what? My final thoughts are thinking of my outstanding crew, and I look forward to doing a lot more things as we go along. Jordan, what I'll tell you is, I'm sure we'll be in touch by text messaging, but I want to make sure that you hopefully had a great Thanksgiving, and more importantly, have a great holiday season. The next time I see you, I'll be turning the big 6-0, just so you know. So, what other people think. So you have yourself a great holiday season, Jordan. I look forward to being in touch, and we are so appreciative of your contributions. Rick, guess what, pal? We're on a 24-hour break until we do it again tomorrow on the Sports Exchange. So with that,
awesome.
On behalf of Jordan Long, Rick Curdy, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We will catch you on the next edition. Take care, everybody. Good night. God bless, and please be safe out there. Cheers.
Good night.